Hi everyone and welcome back. It's Tom Stanley once again, continuing on with the Tema 4x4 lift kit installation on this 2010 Nissan Juke. As you can see, we've got the bonnet popped up, the hood if you're in North America. The bonnet is popped on the Juke, and there is some work to be done with removal of panels and other pieces around the windshield wipers before we can get to the front strut mounts. I'll just flip the camera around and we'll take a look at that stuff. Right, so here we are over the top of the McPherson strut mount. As you can see, two of the three mounting bolts for the assembly. This is the center of the strut. The third bolt is back in under there. I can't even see it from here. I guess if I had a flashlight of some sort I could probably spot it. There is another video on YouTube about removing all of this panel assembly. I'll put a link to that down in the description rather than go into all that detail here, so you guys can pop over and have a look at how to get all this stuff out of your way. Also, while taking a look at other sites with information around removing a front coilovers on Jukes, I notice there's a person that keeps popping up saying, no, you don't have to do that. There's an access hole in that panel. You don't have to remove it. But I'm not sure which year Juke that person is looking at. But in this case, all right, there's the two. The third is under here. There's no access point. This is a mounting point for these panels. And if we come across to the other side, let's take a look here. The situation's no better here. We've got the two of the three. The third one is back in here somewhere, and once again we can see there's no access point. So maybe in later Jukes, Nissan gave their mechanics a break and did put access points for removal of that rear strut bolt, but at least in my 2010 it's not there. So I'm going to get to work removing all of this. Got to take the wipers off and all these panels off to get to those strut mounts. I'm going to get to work removing that, and I will be back when I've completed that effort. Well, I'm back with an update, and a bit of a surprise. I popped this off, this little bushing off, expecting an attachment, and lo and behold, well, you can't see it there. Give me a second. I'm going to find the flashlight, but you can already guess what I'm getting at. Hopefully you can see it. There it is. The third attachment bolt for the strut, so you don't have to take all this stuff off. And lucky me, I learned that after there's a pin here and a pin here that holds a little panel across, and well, as you guess, they're down in there somewhere. Yeah, so yeah, this is going to be a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, and a lot easier than Nissan make it out to be. So I'll just leave everything where it is right now in this state of disassembly, partial disassembly, and I will get to work on removing these struts. Right, just checking back in. So here we are with the front end of the Juke jacked up, doing both sides at the same time. I want the clearance underneath, just for my own benefit, but also this sway bar linkage. I have read that if you do both sides at once, you drop both struts, you don't have to disconnect that linkage. I don't think it'd be a great drama to disconnect it, but you know, if you don't have to, you don't have to. So the next part of the task is going to be to get up under here. You can see the bolts up in there. She's pretty tight. Not quite sure how this is going to work. I'm hoping that it's actually just threaded, that it's a threaded stop and not actually a nut, which is what it looks like. So if that's the case, this could be extremely quick to do, but we'll find out soon enough. All right, I'm going to get back to work, and I'll be back to you with an update soon. Hello, I'm back with another update, and as you can see now, I've gone ahead and removed that panel. While you are able to get into this back bolt through that hole, I did not like the chances of getting it out and back in. And now that I've removed the panel, I see this great big trough back here, and this access hole into the fender well. I think you're wise to remove the panel. And I got lucky, found one of my missing little black tabs from that other piece was down on the ground. However, there's still one somewhere down in the abyss. I'll have to look for it a bit later, but yeah, going to get on with this and hopefully complete this pretty darn quickly. Oh, now before I head off as well, all right, I've jacked underneath this side that I'm currently loosening just so that it doesn't just drop and slam to the ground. So I'll do the same on the other side, and then I'll lower both jacks at the same time and see if we can bring that pair of McPherson struts down without having to disconnect that stabilizer bar assembly. All right, I'll be back to you soon. All right, well, so here we are under the car again. The jacks have been removed. These are down all the way. Everything's free and loose, but there's no way you're getting up above this strut assembly with the spacer unless you can bring it right down. So yeah, we're back to the proper removal assembly process for McPherson struts, and that goes back to the video that I have the link to. So yep, check that. Make sure you're going to check that out, because I'm not going to go into all that detail here. All right, so I'm going to get back to work. Okay, so here we go. The brake line has been released from its clamp. This other little hose has also been released, and then these two 21mm bolts have come out. Now that's just allowed the whole thing to drop down. Not much to see looking up, but I believe that should be it. Now I've left the other side in the state of it's fully assembled and just dropped down. So again, the stabilizer bar is still attached. Hope I don't live to regret that, but if I do, it just has to come off. Doesn't look too difficult. So I'll get back to it now and see if at this point I can get that spacer block up above the strut assembly. And back literally like within 2 minutes. Yep, that was a piece of cake. Here you can see the spacer above the strut assembly. It just slipped right up in there, no problem at all. Working alone, I'm not so sure about my chances for an easy reinstall of the hardware, but you know, I'll find out in a moment. All right, that was straightforward and simple. I'll get back to it and see if I can get this thing in. All right, I'm back with an update. The first two bolts are in. That wasn't too hard, a bit of wrangling around, but this one, I did this one first, then this one. Now, this one, you'll notice the hole has like an oval shape to it, and it just will not allow the bolt to go down in its seat. It keeps pushing it off to the side. So I think the solution here, I've mucked around with it for ages. I think the solution here is just a good old rat tail file. Give that a bit of a zip zap. Open that hole in this upper mounting surface, just on this side. Open that up just enough that that bolt clears. So that's what I'm up to now. I believe at that point I'll be back down by the brake disc and start putting this side back together. Well, that looks like mission accomplished. In the end, I didn't go with the rat tail file. I kept looking down in there with my general philosophy. If the factory didn't do it that way, why should I need to do it that way? And I think what I was actually dealing with was just a slightly boogered thread on the top of the strut and a bit of a misalignment maybe. So loosen that bolt, pushed on the bottom of the strut with my foot and pulled on the springs with my hand to try to pull it around into a better position. I did cleanly get that bolt into the threads, and then it was sticking. And so I just took the risk of giving it a twist with the ratchet, and she just freed up right then and there, and everything locked right down. So that's looking pretty good. This left side now mounted. I've still got to get back down under here and do the reattachments, but I think that should go pretty fast. Oh, then again, I might be fooling myself, because that and this mating surface are now going to be under a bit of different tension than they were. Anyways, we'll find out soon enough. I'm back, and we're back together. Honestly, that was so straightforward and simple. It's like less than 10 minutes, and I'm back. So what we do know from this is that we do not have to remove the stabilizer attachment, the stabilizer bar attachment, as long as we drop both sides at the same time. That works fine. And putting these two back on and realigning that outer disc and brake assembly. That was no problem at all. Everything fit right back in, locked right up. All the hoses are reconnected. So that's that for the left side. Moving on to the right. Okay, I've come back for an update on the right side. I have had all three bolts basically aligned, but I'm running into the same issues on this side with the original factory holes being slightly oval. So this one has actually got 2 or 3 threads in. This guy's kind of grabbing. This front one's being a bit of a problem. However, hot tip for working by yourself. Once you've got the rubber bushing up and over the top of the assembly, pop this back in. It brings the strut back up and aligns it properly so that its holes are pointing towards the holes in the mount panel, and it saves you a lot of pushing and pulling like I was doing on the other side. So there we go. And once again, never needed to release that that sway bar linkage, so that's pretty straightforward. The worst part of this is just realigning the holes for the strut with the holes in its mounting plate and the extended length bolts. But that's neither here nor there. It just is what it is. So I'm going to get back to it, and with any luck, I won't be too much longer, and I'll be back with things closing up. Well, look at that. Okay, the driver's side is now in. And so one thing that I did on this side, similar on the other, is after I had the bolts all through, I left them just a little bit loose so I could get in here, and you can see this, I can't really see very well, but the spacer, to push the spacer around so that it sits evenly around the head of the strut assembly, so that we're going to get most effective distribution of any pressures, nothing bearing too much on one side or the other. Regardless, it only moves by 5 millimeters, maybe, 1/8 of an inch. But nonetheless, yeah, I thought it was an important thing to do. So last but not least, I've got to get down here and get these hub assembly bolts put back on, and yeah, then we should be done. Okay, so mission accomplished. Front lift installed, and I even managed to find the little fastener that I had lost, so that was a bonus. So everything under the bonnet, the hood, is back in normal condition. I've had it up and down the bumpy road again for a test drive. It rides just fine, doesn't seem to be anything really out of the ordinary. It looks pretty good. We've got the additional clearance in the front, but what I've really noticed is a lot of additional clearance in the rear. There is a bit of clunking, I guess would be what I would say, as I'm driving it. So again, I'm wondering if those Monroe shocks are still not quite long enough, but that will possibly change as those spacer bushings settle in to the mounts where they're at, and undoubtedly they'll compress. Even if they compress 5 or 10 millimeters, that will be more than adequate enough to take some of that concern out. But yeah, pretty happy with the end result on this thing. Nice, I like it. And so now with the front done, or the entire vehicle done, back to that question of is this a suitable project for a do-it-yourselfer? I would say the front was a lot simpler than the rear. There's still the issue of needing to remove the struts from those hub mounts, but nothing too scary there. You need 21 mil ratchets and sockets, and you need possibly you're needing a torque wrench as well to break it loose. But yeah, not too bad. The worst part of the front was just trying to wrangle the struts back into position to get the bolt holes to realign. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result. All in all, I would say for the front, probably 3 to 4 hours of time. So on the back, you're looking 4 to 6. On the front, you're looking 3 to 4. For any reasonably competent, experienced automotive or mechanical do-it-yourselfer, no trouble at all. For somebody who's not very experienced, I would say maybe have a go at the front but perhaps get a workshop to do the rear end for you, because especially with the spring compression, quite a bit more complex back on that side. All right, so that wraps us up for now. I hope you've gained from this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching the series, and thanks again for watching. I very much appreciate the views, the likes, the thumbs ups, all that kind of stuff. But that's not really what it's all about. It's just I couldn't really find enough information on doing this lift online, either through Tema or through other sources. So I thought this was a pretty worthy project to put this together. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoys it, and thanks for watching.